Hi, Gary DeWaal here, and this is Bridging the Week for April 14th to 18th, and today is April 21st, 2014. Good morning. Many persons took this past week off as at least two major world religions celebrated important holidays. As a result, some folks may have missed some important developments that occurred last week internationally in the financial services industry. So let's try looking at these top stories in the few minutes I share with you. Last week, multiple defendants, including private investment firm J.C. Flowers, were dismissed entirely from an individual customer action arising from the collapse of MF Global in October 2011. Five defendants, including senior officers John Corzine, Bradley Abelow, and Henry Steenkamp, had some allegations dismissed but remain in the litigation. Generally, the plaintiff in this action, Superior CTA Fund, claimed that all the defendants had violated various provisions of the Commodity Exchange Act and New York State statutory and common law. Just a few weeks ago, the same judge in this matter had issued a non-holds-barred decision dismissing some defendants entirely, but authorizing proceeding against at least some other defendants in part in connection with a customer class action lawsuit involving the same firm. Many of the allegations in the two actions overlapped, but there were more allegations and defendants in this one customer action. The CME Group last week announced a rule amendment that will ban all transitory exchange of futures related positions. However, without calling such transactions transitory, CME will permit what effectively are equivalent to transitory EFRPs in connection with certain inventory financing as well as foreign currency futures. In addition, as part of its market regulation advisory announcing its rule change, CME issued helpful frequently asked questions and answers to related to EFRPs. The new rule is effective June 2nd. There is a special article dated April 14th on my website regarding this development. Check it out. The European Parliament approved new measures on April 15th that, once finally implemented, will increase regulation of European financial markets, including imposing new requirements on certain algorithmic trading. The new measures, known as the Markets and Financial Instruments Directive, or MIFID II, and the Markets and Financial Instruments Regulation, or MIFIR, will impact investment firms, certain large traders on stock, financial, and commodity derivative markets, and trading venues, among others, and potentially will have a cross-border impact too. Keep in mind, however, that MIFID II and MIFIR are still subject to additional legislative steps prior to formal adoption, and implementation is not expected until 2016 because of these steps and other requirements too. I have a special article on these European developments also on my website dated April 16th. Check it out. The Security Exchange Commission's Division of Trading and Markets issued helpful answers to frequently asked questions related to its market access regulation. This regulation, adopted in 2010, generally requires a broker or dealer with access to trading securities directly on an exchange or alternative trading system to have procedures and controls that limits their financial exposure as a result of such access, and ensures compliance with all regulatory requirements that are applicable to market access. This rule especially applies to brokers that provide direct market access to customers. In its Q&A published on April 15th, the SEC provides a concise summary of the relevant regulation, as well as answers to 19 discrete questions regarding it. Given the active debate regarding low-latency trading that shows no sign of abating, although a few weeks have now passed since the release of Michael Lewis' Flash Boys, it is worth checking these Q&As out, especially if your firm has access to trading securities directly on exchange or ATS. Unfortunately, given the high political temperature, even de minimis violations may give rise to enforcement actions to generate public approbation. Also last week, the SEC proposed record-keeping, reporting, and notification requirements for security-based swap dealers and major security-based swap participants, so-called securities count requirements for certain swap-based security dealers, and additional record-keeping obligations for broker-dealers that are not duly registered as security-based swap dealers or major securities-based swap participants to account for their security-based swap business. Comments on these proposals are due within 60 days after the agency's proposal is officially published in the Federal Register. Also last week, this seems to be the week of the SEC's Office of Compliance Inspections and Examinations provided additional information and a risk alert regarding its previously announced initiative to assess cybersecurity preparedness. Every firm in the financial services industry should be augmenting its controls, including its problem detection capability around cybersecurity. The SEC's review items in its risk alert provide a useful checklist even for firms not under the SEC's jurisdiction or SEC overseen firms that are not selected for review, let alone firms that are in fact targeted. And finally, last week, the European Securities and Market Authority formally sought comment on its proposed regulatory technical standards related to the minimum amount of initial invariation margin to be required in connection with non-cleared over-the-counter derivatives, as well as the methodologies to compute such amounts. Comments are due by July 14th. Well, that's it for today. Remember, as always, there is more information on each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week on my website. Well, welcome back if you took some holiday last week, and in case for everyone, I'm Gary DeWaal. This has been Bridging the Week, and have a great week. Ciao!